Welcome, one and all, to the show. Wired up, fired up. It's almost hockey season. I'm ready to go. Episode 34 of BlueTruth, New York Rangers Talk with Brian Attard, powered by the Sportsbox Network. Like and follow on Facebook, Twitter, and our new Instagram. Thank you for those who have joined the live stream tonight. If you're watching the replay on YouTube, thank you for that as well. You can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Maybe you'll get on the live stream one of these episodes. Today is Thursday, August the 24th, 2023. And kids, believe it or not, we are exactly 30 days away from the Rangers taking the ice for their first preseason game against the Boston Bruins. Summer is coming to a close. Kids going back to school. My son Braden will be headed off to kindergarten in just a matter of days. And all of this means that before we know it, hockey will be back and the world will begin again after this too long of an off season. Tonight, we will light this candle with some news that the Rangers made yesterday. News that I think all of us were waiting for every day. You know, why isn't this happening? Why isn't this happening? What is the holdup? And it finally happened. The Rangers finally signed restricted free agent winger Alexis Lafreniere to a 2-year deal with an AAV of $2.325 million. And really, I mean, what else were they going to do? What else could they do? This deal is very close to the deal that Kaapo Kakko signed last offseason. For the most part, everyone knew how much the Rangers had to use. How much space in the cap the Rangers had to play with. And Alexis Lafreniere didn't really have much in the way of negotiation power. It's just a second deal, no arbitration rights, and cap is cap. So he pretty much got the remainder of their cap space, which was roughly $2.3 million, which, if you follow this, you knew that was the number. 21 years old, 39 points in 81 games a year ago. And I bring this up on occasion that since the start of the 2020-2021 season, Alexis Lafreniere's 44 even-strength goals rank third on the team, behind Chris Kreider's 56 and Artemi Panarin's 49. Notably, one more than Mika Zibanejad's 43. That is a fact. Don't want to take my word for it. Look it up. It's a fact. Again, deal very similar to Kakko's. It's a bit of a prove-it deal, as Kakko's was for the most part. It was also, again, restrained by the fact that there was just not a lot of cap space to work with. This is probably the last year before the cap opens up a bit, projected by about $4 million or so, and that'll be huge, especially for the Rangers. The flat cap era will be over. The players' escrow coming out of the pandemic will be paid back, and finally we can see some of the fruits of these TV deals with ESPN and TNT and get some breathing room. I don't think anybody is surprised at all with the term or the dollars. It's basically what we all thought it would end up being months ago. Why it took this long is open to interpretation. And really, how you view the player, how you view the team, that's probably going to color your interpretation, but whatever. The deal is signed and, the roster looks complete now. I've been kind of waiting for this news to break to kind of get back in the swing of things. And I, like you, was like, yeah, what's the holdup? This is the money. You're not going to get more. This is where you're at. Comments coming in. Chris Fallon, do you like Kakko as much as Dave Birnbaum? Love Kaapo Kakko. Fantastic. Peter, how are you? Robert Scatini, let's go Rangers. What's up, brother? Good to see everybody back again as the season gets underway in a little bit here. As I am around the interwebs sharing the good news of BlueTruth with all you Ranger fans, there are people that I see in this fan base posting all sorts of nonsense on social media who wants to say that Lafreniere is overpaid by this contract. 40-point player making 2.3 is apparently a problem. Sure, Jan. Sure. I want to say Keandre Miller was overpaid on his deal. I mean, if you really follow these people, they really think that everyone is overpaid to some extent because they don't know how to tie their shoes. But it's just misguided anger. I don't even know if they think anybody is good. I think it's negativity for negativity's sake. And all of these things tie together. You know, we sit here and we act surprised that the number 1 overall pick and the number 2 overall pick play better with a center their age versus players on other lines who are arguably better. And we sit here and act surprised that a 23-year-old defenseman who has some size and has shown a decent amount of offensive promise struggles defensively like the rest of the team. And then we don't want to believe the players when they say in exit interviews that there's no structure and they need some structure, and that the 35-minute optional practices weren't working and it was up to the players to figure things out on their own. For some reason, we just fall back on this predisposed view that we have of the players and we ignore what is directly in front of our eyes. See the situation for what it was. Does it not make sense logically? A team where there was little to no direction from a head coach would see the established veterans do well together, but struggle to incorporate kids, young players, who never really had any real level of NHL coaching. Gerard Gallant left it up to the players, and the veterans did what they wanted to do, which worked to an extent for a period of time. Kids had no idea what to do with the veterans, so they would defer to the veterans when they played. But they played a lot better together because they were all on the same page. And defensively, controlled chaos that was kept afloat by one of the 2 best goalies in the world. And all of that, to be fair, all of that was good enough to get to a conference final semi-accidentally. But there is a very good reason that Gerard Gallant is no longer here. There's a very good reason that Gerard Gallant doesn't last anywhere that he goes for any extended period of time. Eventually, players actually do want to be coached and want there to be a plan and not just let the players handle it. You know, we're going to talk a lot over the course of this year. It's a big year for Kakko, a big year for Lafreniere. The Rangers have not, arguably, and I would have this discussion with anybody, they have not put these 2 players in any position to succeed at all. I would argue that with anyone. And I was over the moon when they hired Gerard Gallant. That was my guy, but it got old really, really quickly. And I still see people posting about the firing saying, oh, you know, look at the Rangers' regular season record the last 2 years, as if that was Gerard Gallant and not Igor Shesterkin playing out of his mind. Did we not watch the same Rangers team for over a decade be largely relevant because of their goaltender and their goaltender alone? We already forget about that? Numbers in the rafters, kids. Apparently we did. I think that we're going to go through, you know, line combos tonight. What I would do, what BlueTruth would do. I'm not in charge. If I was, I wouldn't be here. But there's a lot to unpack. Kana, the Laf deal was a good deal. I would concur. I was concerned they wouldn't be able to get it done with the cap space that they had, but they did. And they did. Sav laughing at those people who thought they overpaid for Lafreniere. I look at that, I'm like, I just, you don't know that you don't know what you're watching. You don't know how money works, how cap works. No clue. No idea if you think $2.3 million is an overpayment. He is, at that price with their cap situation, he's extremely valuable to them. Don't know how you don't see it that way. Robert Simpson, what's up, bro? Let's go Rangers. That's right. Peter chiming in as we know he does. bringing it down the way that it is. That's exactly that. Those opinions are absolutely right on. Right on. Panarin's overpaid. Well, Panarin was also signed prior to the pandemic, which put the salary cap flat. If the cap was $10 million, you wouldn't really worry as much about it. That's fact. Unless you could have seen it coming. Nobody did. The problem is he was a first overall pick. 40 points doesn't cut it at all. No, but who is he playing with and how is he going to get more? If he has one more goal at even strength than Mika Zibanejad, tell me why we're expecting him to have more when Mika doesn't have more at even strength. They haven't been a good 5-on-5 team for a while. John says he's overpaid. Well, John, I don't know what you do for a living, but I'm glad that you're overpaid. I hope you get more overpaid. Anthony, we're going to break up. We're going to talk about lines. Mark Brown, Laviolette will bring structure. I concur. John, look, we had a lot of long off seasons, right? It just feels like it because of the way that it ended, which I'll touch on. It was too short. I mean, the run was too short, the off season too long. It is what it is. Last year's in the rear view. We have to move past it. I mean, I'm as over it as I'm going to get. It'll always be a massive missed opportunity, but say la vie. Call me an optimist, Robert Scatini, but I think all 5 kids, quote unquote, will improve breakout this year. That is Laffy, Hedel, Kako, Miller, Schneider, all will get bigger roles and thrive. They're definitely going to need to for this team to do a whole lot. Robert Simpson, I think Blake Ruby worth every penny. We're going to talk about Blake Wheeler. We haven't really do a whole lot after free agency, so I'll definitely touch on that because I think it's important to bring that up. I thought he did a great job. Speaking about Drury. Mario, hey buddy, long time no talk. Can't wait for the season to get going. Let's go Rangers. Right back at you, brother. We'll be bringing it hard this year, just like the last couple. It's always fun to talk Rangers with you guys, so appreciate that. Mike Epstein, love to see that name. I don't want to, but can't help but question their ceilings. I want to be wrong. Are they any better than 25 goal scorers? What do you think? Well, I think we're going to have a chance to find out this year where they are in their development. They're still very young, and again, I really believe that people just get enamored and they look at the NFL and they see the players come in their rookie years and they do great. And it's like, it's not really, hockey is a total different thing. It's a total different thing, right? So you can't look at it that way. Bob, I would have rather taken Tim Stützle. Well, I think based on the fact that Tim Stützle plays top 6 minutes, top 3 minutes in Ottawa and gets a bunch of power play time, puts up a lot of points. What I would ask you, Bob, is to be fair, can you show me where you said that prior to the draft? Or is it revisionist history based on the result? And to be fair, what I would tell you is if they didn't take Lafreniere, it would have been Quinton Byfield because they desperately needed a center, but Lafreniere was the 1 pick that year. Same as Kako was the 2 behind Hughes. These picks were out of their hands. It's easy to say in retrospect, oh, well, this player's playing better. Clearly, we should have taken him. I mean, yeah, but you're making that statement 3 years down the road, knowing more and knowing what Stützle became. Stützle was not even a lock at the 3 pick. Like that was a bit of a controversy at the time. I mean, again, it was Lafreniere, Byfield, and the rest. Good for Stützle. Good that Ottawa put him in a great spot. Good that Ottawa sucked really bad and was able to put these players in their top 6 off the jump. Rangers didn't do that. 1 and 2 picks don't end up on rosters like the Rangers. We went over that. So, and the team has not helped them mature at all because the team went pretty quickly into, we're going to try to win now. By Lafreniere's second year, they were trying to get in it, and they did. So, again, it's deeper than that. I hear what you're saying. Yes, I would love to have Stützle's results. Sure, who wouldn't? But I think to be fair, we're looking back at it now and making a change based on what we know now. I mean, based on what we know now, I mean, I guess we should have taken Trevor Zegras at 2, but who nobody was talking about that. Everybody, people couldn't have even taken Kako at 1. There was some talk about that. So, Would we be shocked to see 25-35 from Laffy next year with the right line mates? I don't think that I'd be shocked. I think I'd be pleasantly surprised. I think it would be a big jump, but we're talking about the lines. Peter, you got my word on that. I'm prepped tonight. I'm good. I have content to bring to all you fine folks. Stutzel gets power play time. He does. That's a big one. Like I said, Lafreniere has one more even strength goal than Mika's advantage at over the last 3 years. Look it up. This is numbers, but nobody talks about that. Everybody just wants to go at it with their predisposition. I don't want to like this player, so I'm going to find the things I don't like about him. It's just, it is what it is. But let's talk about, as we stand here together, as August comes to a close, where the Rangers are compared to last year. And I see a lot of commentary around the interwebs, that the Rangers are just not going to be as good as last year. Okay. Why? What makes you think that? Oh, well, they lost Vladimir Tarasenko and Patrick Kane. And sure. Well, Tarasenko wasn't even on the team until middle of February. Kane didn't come in until even later. And by the way, all I've heard for months is that Kane sucked anyway when he was here. So what have they lost? And you can look this up as well. They were the second best team in the league from when Trouba threw the helmet against the Hawks to the end of March. And they were the third best team in the league, behind only Boston and Carolina, from the helmet throw to when they got Vlad, despite the lack of structure from the head coach. So I ask you, is this team today really that different from that team? If they can play better at 5-on-5, and I think Laviolette will help there a lot, I don't see the reason for this negativity. I don't buy this idea that they're somehow worse off than that team last year. And I think the coaching change is going to help them quite a bit. We're not going to get into, season preview or anything tonight. It's too early for that. But there is this pervasive negativity in a sect of the fan base where they think everything the team does is wrong because they didn't go into a 10-year rebuild and they signed some high-priced players before the pandemic created a flat salary cap. And I just don't follow the thought process at all. It's all tied together. It's the same people who think this guy makes too much and that guy makes too much and the other guy stinks and that guy's no good. I don't get it. The roster is largely intact from a year ago. They lost 4 guys they got at the deadline and a backup goaltender. They filled all of the holes that the departures left. And again, we didn't really get together and talk about anything coming out of free agency, but I really do feel, even more so now, that you have to give Chris Drury a lot of credit for how he was able to fill the specific holes in the roster very, very cheaply. And nobody got any kind of commitment. These are 1-year deals. I mean, I look at it and say, based on what you had, damn, you did as good. I didn't think they were going to be able to do that. I had a lot of concern around, where they were going to be able to fill these holes because of the cap that they're in, because of the fact that you have guys making big dollars, and that's a concern. I'm the first person to tell you. And again, like I pride myself on keeping it as real as I can. One thing I am not as a cheerleader. I love this team to death. I would commit atrocities in their name to win a Stanley Cup, but I do not sugarcoat. I don't blow them up when they don't need to be. They are what they are. I mean, me, pumping their tires is not going to make them any better, and I don't believe in that. I call it like I see it. And the negativity is just over the top insane. And I think that it's just the result of people not getting over last year. I get it. I get it. You're not wrong to feel upset for how it happened, but it's over now. Like you have to move past it. It's a new year. It's another chance. So, you're harboring too much for sure. Comments coming in. Rock, you're right. They're going to be worse. Love you, bud. I don't see it. I don't see it. I don't know why. The coach is better, in my opinion, for what it's worth. They didn't lose any core players, just the trimmings around the end. Which, again, I like Vladimir Tarasenko, too. Like, I have always loved Vladimir Tarasenko. I still, to this day, cringe when I go back and watch the 2010 draft and I see Dylan McIlrath taken, and I'm like... And then St. Louis ends up with Schwartz and Tarasenko. And it's just, again, for me, I think that's you still mad about what happened in April. And you're not wrong to be mad about that. I'm not happy about it either. I just have to move past it because I can't dwell on it. I mean, they didn't lose in the finals. I mean, they lost. We'll get to it, but a lot of the negativity, I think, is still wrapped up in that. Robert Scatine, this is a better, deeper team now than this time last year. I think there's some truth to that. I don't think I'll put it this way. I don't know if they're appreciably better, but I don't think they're any worse off. So I think whatever you thought coming into last year, I don't know that your outlook should change that much based on the pieces coming together. Ray Leo, very respectful Devils fan, sir. How are you? I wish your team good luck, but I'd be lying to you. Kevin Spacito, they're better opening day versus last year. Not fair to compare the team on paper at the deadline versus now. But even that, right? I mean, how many people are out there? Oh, Patrick Kane, that was a disaster. Okay, so what are we talking about? Like because they lost Tarasenko, who was there for 2 months. That's what we're up in arms about, that they're so terrible. I don't know. I mean, again, we're going to go through lines. Like I feel like their lines are better set coming into the season this year. I feel better about that. Chris Munch says Blake Wheeler and minus an injured Kane, they are a better team. Ken said, I think we'll have a much better fourth line. I would agree with that. I think that's underrated, Ken. I think people focus on the big names. I get it. But we know that it's that grind I like their fourth line a lot. We'll talk about that. Going to get to lines in just a bit. Hang around. Anthony, I rather have not signed the depth players and found a way to sign Tarasenko. No, well, yeah, but that was never going to happen. And I think part of that, again, I think the way that he fired the agent and then went to Ottawa, I think he wanted to come back. And I think he would have taken a cheap deal to do it. But the agent never got there and the Rangers moved on. And again, I have always loved Tarasenko, so I'm not going to say a bad word about him. He was a great fit here. Who knows? Listen, I said this when Tarasenko signed in Ottawa. It's a 1-year deal. He's got no trade clause. If he wants to come back and the Rangers can make it happen, don't rule it out. Just don't rule it out at all. Scott Goldberg, new member. Your views are great. Scott, thank you. Welcome to BlueTruth. Thank you. Give a like to the page. I appreciate the kind words. There is nothing better than talking Rangers hockey with Rangers fans. Like I said, we usually go about an hour or so with these shows. And I always try to prepare content to talk to you guys around. And I always think I don't have enough. And before I'm done, it's an hour and a half. So I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words. Sarah, wish we kept Tarasenko. I wish we did a lot of things, but look at it. It's just cap. It is what it is. And the NHL's cap is harder than everybody else's cap because it's a hard number. You can't get around it. So, again, I can't, all things considered, perfectly fine. Joe Danza, welcome back, brother. Drury filled the holes for cheap, added some leadership. Yeah, I mean, who are we mad about? I mean, if anybody wants to bring me a name, like I am mad player X was signed. Bring it to me because I would love to go over that because I don't know what they didn't pay anybody. These are veteran minimum deals. Players wanted to come here. So, like, we can sit here and say, oh, the Rangers stink. Okay, well, fine. You're free to that opinion. Blake Wheeler doesn't seem to think the Rangers stink. He wanted to come here for less money. So, you know, saying, like, I mean, is it the house is not a house of cards the way I think we all make it out to be, right? You know, I mean, I look at a guy like a Blake Wheeler. Yeah, he's up there in age, but he's still productive. He can fill a right wing hole, can play up and down your lineup in the top 9, versatile, big body. Like, how do you not love that for $800,000? And he wanted to come here. I mean, like, what am I going to be mad about that? Right? Like, where am I upset? I look at guys like a Nick Bonino and a Tyler Pitlick, and they're really good fits. They cost nothing. They're inexpensive, brought in to fill a hole. You know, I've heard some people, up in arms. They question the signing of Jonathan Quick as the backup. But I mean, really, Halak was god awful to start the year last year. He lost a lot. They lost a lot of games that he played last year, and it took him a lot of the year to make up for that. And it's a 1-year deal for a guy. Okay, sure. 10 years ago, they beat him for the cup. Okay. Is he not supposed to try and win? Let that go. He grew up a Ranger fan. He clearly wanted to be here. And he came in cheaper than Halak was last year. Like, it's nitpicking for the sake of nitpicking because you're pissed the way last season ended. If the backup goalie's our biggest problem, sign me up. I was as angry as anyone the way the Devils series ended. And as I said afterwards, when I was trying to decompress with you all, it wasn't that they lost, it was how they lost. We knew losing that series to the Devils was a very distinct possibility going in. It's not the loss that stings. It does, but it doesn't. It was their effort. It was their invisibility in 4 of the last 5 games of the series after being completely dominant in the first 2. And a lot of that was coaching. It is. Is it on the players too? Sure, but you can't fire the players. So let's not sit here and believe that the coach was this master technician. He wasn't. His style of coaching has flamed out before, and it flamed out here too. But I think that, again, the negativity that you're seeing out there in social media about the Lafreniere contract, the Miller contract, the free agent signings, all of it, it is just, it's the anger is still there. It needs a way out and a vessel and a vehicle, and it comes out in that way. It's Ranger psychology, right? We're pissed that they but should have kept Tarasenko. Well, sure. I mean, I would have loved to sign him and trade for Connor McDavid, but that's not in the cards, right? So again, I'm not trying to broken record this, but when you are nitpicking some of these things, it is just a manifestation of I'm not over last year. And that's okay. You don't have to be. Unfortunately, we don't have a choice to be over last year because this year's about to start. Let's see what we got here. Some of the comments coming in. Fanbase has a right to be pissed off. I get it. Listen, they lost 2 series in a row that they had 2-game leads in. Coach is gone. Okay. I'm not surprised the coach is gone. No, nobody should you be. Is our defense depth better? Seems like it should be. We're going to break that down. We're going to get into the lines right now. Bob, what new acquisitions will make the opening night roster? Most of them, because they had holes to fill. We're going to go over the lines right now. Bill Landy, they didn't lose any core players. It was the core players were the reason why they didn't move past the first round. And you're 150% correct. I sat here at the end of that series, and when I was, again, venting with all of you, it would have been a lot easier. It would have been a lot easier if the problem was Patrick Kane or the problem was Vlad Tarasenko or Nico Mikkola, or figure it out. Like, those are easy. The hard part is the fact that it was the core that screwed up. It was the core that didn't produce, and you can't get out of it. This is what this team is. There is not a lot of room to make changes to it. You knew they were going to run it back mostly the same. They filled around the edges. That's what they could do. So, yeah, But Bill, to that point, they feel they don't need to listen to anyone. Was anybody talking to them? Was anybody telling them what they needed to do? Or was Gerard Gallant letting the players handle it, which is what he does? And it worked fine to an extent until it didn't, and he was gone. So, what are you going to do? I think that the right move was made. At the end of the day, Mario, let's not dwell on what happened last year. It's a new year. I think Drury did a great job filling in the holes in the cheap. That being said, I think they have more depth than last year. Let's go Rangers. Team not worse. Are they better? Fair question. We'll get to that. Can they bring home the cup? We'll get to that. Charlie Troy, I think that's a new name. They will be a well-coached team with a great developmental coaching staff. So in theory, they should be a better team than last year. Listen, Charlie, you know who I love? You know who I'm really growing on is Dan Muse, the assistant coach. Things that he says, things I've seen him say on video, fan. Like it a lot. I think that underrated move there to bring him into the coaching staff. I'm very excited to see what, again, I do think if you can point to one thing where they're going to be better, I think it's coaching. And a lot of people were very, they were very anti Peter Laviolette. And I kind of thought from the jump that was the direction they were going to go because of anybody who was there. I mean, he was the one that had the cachet, won a Stanley Cup, been around the block. And I think that with a veteran team, it's hard to bring in like a Chris Knobloch and all of a sudden have a Panarin and a Zibanejad and a Kreider and a Trouba just listen to them again. I mean, when Laviolette talks, there's weight behind it. And I think that is the difference. That I think is the difference. And that's why I'm excited to see what the coach can do. And again, we'll talk about him in a little bit. Let's see. I will tell you, PJ, I am going to the March 17th game against the Islanders. It's going to be my son's first game, bringing my wife and my dad. So I'm very excited and proud papa for that one. So I am going to that one. I will be there March 17th. I'm getting my schedule now for games. I always like to post when I'm going because it is awesome to meet people. I've met Mike Faris. I've met a couple guys at games. It's just awesome. I mean, it's why this is what's so fun about this is, it's just great. I enjoy this more than I can put into words. And frankly, the fact that you guys even cared what I have to say is just that's cherry on top. Mike Epstein, I can't have a star at every position, filling holes, cost control. Fans mad about overpaying. No. Mike, fans are mad about everything all the time because they lost last year and it needs a way out. That's what it is. Ranger psychology. Rob, quick idolized Richter as a Ranger fan who was a kid. He could be your backup all day. Yeah, I mean, $800,000 for backup goaltender. What are we doing? What are we angry about? Why? What is it the devil? Is it still Michael McLeod in Game 7? Are you still not over that? I get it. You're gonna nitpick the backup goalie. Sure, okay. Whatever your coping mechanism is, do you? It's cool. I'm okay with that. Whatever you need. Listen. I was very. I mean, part of me is always going to look back at last year and say that was a missed opportunity. The same way that I look back at, 2012, the fact that they had the 8, the 7, the 6, couldn't get by the 6 to play the other 8. I mean, it was just, I look back with regret. Last year is a year where they lost to a good team. I'm not taking anything away from the Devils. Boston lost, Colorado lost, good teams lost. That's what happens in this tournament when it's not 1-8 anymore. And the Devils lost the series after, and Carolina lost the series after, and Florida lost the series after. So great, but it's over now. It must have been love, but it's over now. So a little Celine Dion, people. Peter, the only thing I expected Drury to do was get cheap bargain players. Did an excellent job, A+. I can't be mad at that. Can't be mad at it. Mike, what's up, brother? How are you? Let's see. All right. There was not enough structure with GG. There was no structure with Gerard Gallant. And I think that, again, we're seeing it now. It's okay. It's okay. Al Rastelli lost 9 games in OT last year. Got to be a lot smarter. Yeah, it's fine. I'm with you. I'm good. Billy Kuhn, needed a coach who brings structure, hold players accountable. I think Lavi fits that. I do. Anthony, we're not over it. Listen, I'm not over 2014. I'm still not over 2017 when they lost to Ottawa for no reason. I get it. But I think that what I'm saying is when somebody will say, "Oh, Lafreniere is paid too much. Oh, they shouldn't have signed Lafreniere." I mean, guys, can you tie your shoes? They should have never signed Keandre Miller. What's this Blake Wheeler guy? Jonathan Quick. This is your anger from last year just manifested itself. You're not mad at those specific things. You're mad that they lost last year, so that's why this sucks. This is not good. I don't like this. Okay. And Mark, yeah, I'm a fan. Like, again, I'm good with the coaching staff. I can't say I normally am good with the coaching staff, but I'm good with the coaching staff. So if BlueTruth were making the forward lines, as I said, I do not work for the New York Rangers. I am on TV on occasion with my commercial, but I don't work for the team. We asked this last year, and going into the year last year, we felt there were two openings. The two openings were a top 6 right winger and a third pairing left defenseman. And as I sit here today, a year later, there's a lot of similar themes to what we said coming into this year last year. From last year to now, as currently constructed, they still have one too many left wings, one too few right wings, and a question mark on who is going to fill the third pair. We'll get to the lines here in a second, but the question to answer about how many open spots there are on the roster, I think realistically there is one. I still think that is just a left defenseman on the third pair. And for all intents and purposes, we know who that's probably going to be down to 2 guys. And I think we know exactly who the 12 forwards will be that will take the ice in Buffalo on October 12th, but not potentially exactly where the puzzle pieces fit together, but a decent idea of where they probably will. The NHL these days, with the salary cap as restrictive as it is and the contracts and all, I mean, you pretty much know what the roster is going to look like. And I think for the most part, we have a roster where you can pretty much tell where everyone kind of falls. I mean, you might have a couple guys that can flip between 2 lines like a Rubik's Cube, but for the most part, we can sit here and romanticize about, they're going to work hard and make the team. And it's like, okay, sure. You know what? Panarin's not going to make the team this year, right? It's just not. That's just not real life anymore. Like with the cap year, you know where they are. So we know for sure, I think, who 8 of the top 9 forwards are. Whichever way you want to break the puzzle pieces up. Zibanejad, Kreider, Panarin, Hedl, Kakko, Lafreniere, Trocheck, and Wheeler. We know 8 of the top 9. And we know Bonino and Pitlick are 2 guys on the 4th line. The other 2, Barclay Goodrow, Jimmy Vesey, 3rd line, 4th line. Okay. And we pretty much know 5 of the 6 defensemen. Fox, Lindgren, Miller, Trouba, Braden Schneider. And there's pretty much, 2 guys that can very likely fill the last defenseman spot. So let's see what BlueTruth would do if we were making the forward lines. If BlueTruth were making the forward lines on the first line would be Chris Kreider on the left, Mika Zibanejad at center, and Kaapo Kakko on the right wing. I think that the first line is semi-obvious. I'm not opposed to Artemi Panarin here in Chris Kreider's place, but Mika Zibanejad and Chris Kreider have just worked together, and I see that continuing. I expect Laviolette to put his stamp on the team, but you want to at least work with what has worked, and these 2 certainly have. And if you really want to be honest, Kaapo Kakko was their best sidekick last year. That line performed very well for those of you who want to go look at the advanced stats. Kaapo Kakko needs to establish himself as the alpha right winger now. Right now. There is nobody in front of him I do not believe for a minute that they're just going to give this spot to Blake Wheeler. If anybody's going to be handed the spot, it's going to be Kakko's to lose. And I think he's going to grab hold. I think it has to be Kakko for the midterm future of this team, because if he can't grab that brass ring and take that spot, then right wing really becomes a major organizational hole going forward. The team needs Kakko there. And I think at least at the start, like I said, I think it's a spot to lose. I will say this about Kreider, though. I think that there could be a chance that if he's not on the first line, he could conceivably end up on the third line, depending how it all shakes out. I do think that that is a possibility. Charlie Trey, with this coach, I see Jones get a real shot. We'll talk about Jones in a minute. Kevin, we can't overlook the veteran leadership right in between Wheeler and Quick. That was clearly by design what the team needs. Fair point. Quick's a nice, I've won 3 cups mentor for Igor to get him over the hump. Again, he loves the team. Wheeler's motivated. That's probably one of the things I like about him most is he's motivated. You know, when you're a captain of a team, they take your C away. Then they buy you out. You know, like I think that's there's something there. I think he wants to prove them wrong. That's what I think anyway. If BlueTruth were making the forward lines and we go to line 2, here's where I'm sure I will hear it from some of you. I would put Artemi Panarin on the left. I would put Filip Chytil in the middle, and I would put Alexis Lafreniere on the right. Now, this is where I'm sure I'm going to get comments on this. If Panarin isn't on line 1 with Mika Zibanejad, like he's going to be on line 2. He's a top 6 left wing. But this is one of those flip spots where I could see Panarin on 1 and Kreider here. Again, Kreider can fit really anywhere in the top 9 left. I'll go with Panarin to start. But I think the change that I would make is I think Filip Chytil would be a strong match because Chytil's one of those guys who actually shoots. Breakout year last year. I would like to see him rewarded by putting him in on the second line. And then, look, I really think the team is best served with their best 6 most talented players in the top 6. And to me, Alexis Lafreniere is clearly in that group. He played right wing at times, but not for long enough for a coach whose primary tactical move was to throw lines in a blender. If Laffy cannot make it on the right wing, I don't see how it works long term. And I really think at that point he's going to be moved. Again, I don't think they're moving off of Kreider or Panarin. I don't think they could if they wanted to because of the contracts and because of the no-movement clauses. So I think the investment of time needs to be made in Lafreniere. The fair concern with this group is from a defensive standpoint. I think if you would ever see a reason why it would be Trocheck here and Chytil on 3 is because of having defensive questions about putting that other line together. Chytil, I think, to me, is the better offensive player. I think that's pretty obvious after last year. And I think that it makes sense to put your offensive players together and let them work their magic. I think Panarin's playmaking ability will match with Chytil and Lafreniere really nicely. And I think that they really need to give Lafreniere a shot in the top 6 and let him go. I think this dicking around, it needs to stop. Al said, can't see that happening. Robert, I think they tried it for a stretch or 2. We should revisit it for sure. I like Chytil and Kakko's chemistry, so Laffy to line 1. Again, I think that Kakko needs to see. I don't think I could put Lafreniere on the first line as he was there he was there a couple times. I mean, I get it. I think Kakko's on 1. I think Lafreniere's on 2 to start. That's at least what I would do to see. Bob says, no way Chytil replaces Trocheck. Well, why do you say that, Bob? I mean, Chytil had a breakout year last year. I mean, if you're saying that from a contractual perspective, I don't think it matters. I mean, they're middle 6. I think again, I wouldn't be surprised if Trocheck is on the second line, but I would like to see Lafreniere get that shot with Chytil. I think that those two together, add Panarin's playmaking ability, I think it's a good line. Al says Laffy on line 1. Again, I think that's asking a lot for the position change. PJ said Laugh has to prove it this season. If it doesn't work, he could easily be traded at his new price tag. Sure, but I don't think that that's an in-season move. I think that that would be an off-season move. I don't think that, they're not going to do that in the middle of the year. I really don't think that's going to happen. I mean, unless it's a really big deal for something else like a JT Miller, and I don't think that that's in the cards anymore cap-wise. So, yeah. Rob says Tito needs to win a face-off. Yeah. Churchick better look. I'm banging on this, Chris, that I think Heedle takes another meteoric step forward. I do. I think that he has the talent to do that. If BlueTruth are making the forward lines and we looked at the third line would look something like Barclay Goodrow on the left with, again, Vinny Trocheck centering and newly acquired Blake Wheeler on the right. So now that we're out of the top six, here's, I think, the next best three. And what I like about this combo is that it combines Wheeler's size with a grit guy in Barclay Goodrow and that two-way center in Trocheck. So I think it could be a really good mix together in both ways. I think it's a line that can score. I think it's a line that can defend, has some size, has some grit. Like, I think that I can see that working together, and I like that idea. Trocheck could certainly flip with Heedle, and if Lafreniere doesn't work out on the second line, which, again, is absolutely possible, then if Wheeler goes up, then you'd probably assume Lafreniere and Goodrow switch sides, Laffy to the left and Goodrow on the right. I was in the camp to get out from under Goodrow's deal this offseason. They didn't do that. They found a way to make the numbers work without getting rid of him for now. So, okay. But this trio strikes me as a good starting point. As I said earlier, there's also a distinct possibility that Kreider could end up here if they want to put Lafreniere on the left side in the top six. If Panarin goes up, and Lafreniere drops to 2, then it's extremely possible that this could be Kreider on the third line. And do they move the kid line to line 2 in its entirety and do your first line of Zibby, Panarin, and Wheeler? I can't rule that out. Again, it's puzzle pieces trying to make them fit. But I would like to see this group together. I think that they would mesh really well. It's not going to be Panarin that drops. I don't envision that. Heedle should be your 2 center, more offense. I agree. Yeah, Peter, I think you're right on. VC, Trocheck, Wheeler be the best third line in hockey. Well, I haven't mentioned Jimmy VC yet. Hold that thought. Tom Scavetta from Review and Preview. What's up, brother? By the way, all you guys should be following Review and Preview for all of your other, sports box. We love everybody. Hoping Laffy deal's worth it. Still a young kid. Do you think he was held back by coaching last year? Yes, I do. And by held back, I mean there wasn't any coaching. So, I like the size and grit third line, big body Wheeler, greasy blue paint goals. We need them. Yeah. Again, that's what I'm saying. Like, if you look at that trio, I think that it would work well together. PJ said, I worry about Wheeler playing first line minutes. I agree. And that's why I don't think he's going to go up there. I think he's in the middle 6, and I think he's perfect on the third line. Given the role, I think he's fine with that. So if BlueTruth are making the forward lines and we went to line 4 would look something like Jimmy VC on the left, Nick Bonino at center, and Tyler Pitlick on the right. So this is pretty much an entirely new fourth line where someone like Jimmy VC really should be, is really a fourth line guy, definitely in your bottom 6. And there were times he was in the top 6 last year. I don't like that. Bonino is a prototypical fourth line center, and Pitlick is really like an ideal fourth line winger. I just think that this works. Could you flip VC and Goodrow? Yeah, if you want. But I think that a guy making Goodrow's money 3.6, I think that that's not somebody you want on your fourth line. I like the way this trio feels. And I don't think, especially in the case of Bonino and Pitlick, that they really can fit anywhere else on the roster. And you can make the case that VC could be used in other places, and he provides that flexibility. But again, bottom 6 guy. If he's in your top 6, something is wrong. Something went wrong, went against plan. VC is one of those flipper type guys that could end up between the third and fourth line. As long as he's in the bottom 6, I'm good. Like, I need him to not be anywhere near my top 6, because then I get upset. I don't want to see Jimmy VC in the top 6. Shoot me. It's fine. Mark Brown, I think Hedl would benefit with Panarin on his left. Yes, absolutely, right? So Panarin's a playmaker. Hedl shoots. You ever been to the Garden? Shoot! We do it all the time. Hedl shoots. And I think Lafreniere's, it's a well-rounded game. I mean, he might have, to this point, I think that's, Why would you have a guy to the third line who, including playoffs, has scored over 100 goals the last 2 years? Well, because a lot of them are on the power play, and that doesn't change. And because you're trying to fit the pieces together. A lot of Chris Kreider's goals come on the power play. I mean, he had 52 years ago, and 30 last year, total goals, right? So, okay. Again, I don't, it depends what you want to do, right? Like, if you want to put Lafreniere in the top 6, you're not dropping Panarin. If you want to put Lafreniere in the top 6 on the left side, Kreider's the guy who drops. If you put Lafreniere on the right side, Kreider doesn't have to drop. If you put your best 6 players in the top 6, that's how it will fall, right? We're just trying to put puzzle pieces together here. So, that's what I think I would like to see from the jump. We'll see. Alyssa Hoffman, a new name. That's my wife's maiden name. Let's see how they play with the new coach. Also, good friends of mine, Eileen and Patrick Hoffman, who sit in 115. Awesome people. Does Laviolette have a history of moving players around or sticking to lines to create? I don't know that at the top of my head, but I think what he does have is a history of having some structure. And I think this team needs it bad. Bad. They need it. And you could tell it last year. That's why Igor's yelling at the bench in the playoffs. What are you doing? Peter, hoping for chemistry among Trocheck, Kreider, and fingers crossed on Cooley in the third line. I like Trocheck 3C, but Kreider needs to come down to third, and I'm the biggest Kreider fan. He will still get his power play goals. Brian Fogelstrom, Hedl will take the shots Panarin hesitates to take. See, you're reading my mind. Yes, Panarin wants to make the play. Hedl's going to shoot. Wired that way. I'm a fan of that. Robert Scatini's taking my thunder. The question is, how many forward spots are really up for grabs, and can any of the young prospects make the jump? That would be obviously Brennan Othmann and Will Cooley would be the two primary guys who would, if anybody did. And as far as the roster goes, as I think you can see, I'm not in the camp that a Brennan Othmann or a Will Cooley type are going to crack the roster. I just don't see a spot. Just basic math. Where would they play? Othman's never really played pro hockey, so what's the rush to bring him to Broadway? I think he needs a year of a little seasoning in Hartford before he takes a role, depending on what it looks like the year after. I think that you're begging for someone else to blame at that point to kind of rush him to. I think they're not going to do that. Cooley, I think, is he really best served in a fourth line role on the Rangers, or playing top 6 minutes in Hartford? Probably Hartford. Now, of the two, I think Cooley's got the best chance to see time on the Rangers, and frankly, wouldn't surprise me at all if Cooley was the first call-up, if something happened, right? So, again, I don't think they're going to make it out of camp. I would love to be proven wrong, but I think they're both best served in Hartford for the year. PJ. Watch Hedl bury 40. Yeah. Othmann needs a year. Yes. Thank you, Mark. Yep. Okay. Al, we need youth and speed. Okay. Tell me where they're going to play. I will come back to you. I will wait for you to comment. Tell me where they're going to play and they're on the line. What line do you put them on, and who do you replace, and where do they go? I will come back to you on that. Othmann needs another year. I agree. So, if BlueTruth were making the defensive pairs. Now, we'll take a look at the back end as well, and this is a little bit, I think, more concrete than the forwards. I think the Rangers have a lot fewer moving parts than they do in the forward lines on the back end. Defensively, we're going to keep this real simple and just assume that the top two pairs remain as they are. Number 1, Lindgren and Fox. Pretty easy here. The correlations, I feel, to Jeff Bukaboom and Brian Leetch are very fair. Same idea. This team is in so many ways completely different when Ryan Lindgren is out of the lineup, and their results bear that out. He is the Robin to Adam Fox's Batman. He's got a year left on his deal, and I am not looking forward at all to what Lindgren's going to sign for. Not even a little bit. I am getting PTSD about Dan Girardi, and that didn't work. Look, he's a heart and soul guy, and I love him, but he's not the kind of player that's going to age well. It's just not. And that's my concern, because he probably knows it too. He wants to get his bag. Al Rastelli. Okay. Third line for Othman. Fine. Who does he replace? Cooley on the fourth line. Okay. Who does he replace? I need names. Who is not making the team because the players are there? Othman has skating issues too. Yeah, I need to everybody teach it. But you're right. Noah Diver, my sports box buddy, breaking news. Panarin really. Yeah, I saw some people that were saying that they should release Artemi Panarin over some kind of gun issues in Russia. I couldn't care less. Look, everybody said Panarin should shoot more. You got a gun. Please, guys, come on. Don't do that. VC on the fourth. Again, so, all right, Al, give me your bottom six with Othman and Cooley in it so I can see who's leaving. I know who my top six is, so give me your bottom six, all six players with Lafreniere, with Othman and Cooley on it. I'm curious. I'm curious to how you want to put it. I'm open to it. Just want to hear it. If we're doing the second pair, like I said, this is easy. Miller and Trouba. I think that Keandre Miller gets a lot of unwarranted crap from this fan base because he wasn't this defensive stalwart last year. And I really don't think that that's the game you want him playing anyway. You know, he and Trouba should be expected to be a pair again. You know, we can have conversations about Jacob Trouba's contract, and I'll have that conversation with you. His contract's an issue largely due to the flat cap. He's here. This is the spot he's going to be on. It's just the way that it is. Peter, let's see. Robertson makes 60. Yeah, we're going to talk about, we're getting there. You're getting there. Trocheck, Wheeler, and Othman for the third line. Okay. So who, okay, give me the fourth line because I got to figure out where these names are going to go. Who are you kicking off? Who's getting kicked off the island is what I need to know. Chris Munch. It's so true. Lindgren is key, but yes, injuries prone because he sacrifices everything for us. Agreed. Unfortunately, not a good move to pay him for him high. Yeah, I know. I know. And that's, yeah, I'm telling you, Chris, it's Girardi over again. It's the same idea. Like we knew that this contract was going to be a disaster when it was signed. You know, all the talk of, I mean, I'm kind of stretching this here, but we knew Callahan was not going to age well. Didn't sign him. Got out of it. We knew McDonough wasn't going to age well. I mean, he won a couple cups in Tampa. God bless him. That's fine. But the end was bad for him. They got rid of him. So in a cap league, it's tough. It's tough. I'll tell you this. I'm very willing to let it play out, Peter. I mean, you got to love his skill set. And again, maybe with some actual coaching, you know, things can happen. Who knows? Robert says, Othman, Trocheck, Wheeler, VC, Bonino, Goodrow is the pipe dream. Al says, Goodrow, Bonino, and Will. Okay, so I'm putting that together. So Trocheck, Wheeler, Othman. Okay. So that I guess that means, okay, so we're getting rid of VC and Pitlick. Okay. I don't think they're going to do that. I think VC has value to the team and what he does, and they signed Pitlick to play that role. Now, if Cooley beats Pitlick out, fine. But I don't think it may, again, I think I'd rather see him in Hartford get higher level minutes and bring him in next year. I'm not against it. I'm not against it, but I don't see it. I don't think they're going to just bring kids into play because I don't think that that's where they are in their cycle right now. But we'll see. Pierre said, let's Lindgren for 4. Yeah, me too, but it's going to cost you more. I think with him, the longer you go, the less per year it'll be. Like, I think that if you If you give him a 4-year deal, it might cost you 6 per. If you give him a 7-year deal, it might cost you 4.5 per. Like if you get the commitment, but that's not. And you know, Fox is gonna. I mean, you're not gonna piss Adam Fox off. It's tough. It's tough. It is a tough spot to be in. Certainly. I mean, I'm worried about that deal. I'll say this just before we get off the second pair. A lot of people would like to see a combination of Fox and Miller, and I think that that's not a bad idea to maybe like tweak to if you're down a goal in the third to just push. But I think the Rangers have a bit of a balance, right? With the pairs, you have somebody on each pair who's got some offensive pop, and you've got a guy paired with them that's more of a defensive guy. So that gives the offensive-ish defenseman some free rein to activate, knowing somebody's behind him to watch his back. So again, if they're down a goal in the third, stick Fox and Miller together. I'm okay with that. But as a general rule, I think for the most part, Fox is great, but he's no leech. He killed us in the playoffs last year. Al, I couldn't disagree with you more. He had a bad game in Game 7. Sure he did. Absolutely. Adam Fox is the second most important player in the team behind the goaltender. They go nowhere without Adam Fox. Second best defenseman in the league. That is not pom-poms. That's what he is. He's getting paid $9.5. It's a steal. Al, that's one game. It's one game. He had a bad play. It happens. It's Adam Fox. Al, respectfully, this is your anger still manifesting itself that they lost. Yeah, he made a bad play. It happens. Still Adam Fox. Igor. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the talk is Lindgren for 7. Mark, that makes me queasy. Makes me upset. So the one question on the defensive pair is who is going to be Braden Schneider's partner on the third pair? And I think the inside track goes to Eric Gustafsson. No, a guy, I think the team signing him was extremely targeted. This guy really outperformed under Laviolette in Washington. And I think this is going to be Lavi's guy. If Lavi makes the call, I think Lavi has more of a connection to Gustafsson than somebody else. He had 38 points in 61 games under Laviolette before being traded to Toronto. And I think this actually could be a player who becomes their second power play quarterback. I know Peter mentioned Miller over Trouba, but I think it might be Gustafsson. And he has that sort of makeup to him. So, I think he really could be a steal of a signing. But if you want to be fair about it, all of this really puts Zach Jones in a spot because he can't go back down to Hartford. He's either the 7th guy or he's traded. They won't just lose him for nothing on waivers. That'd be some pretty, piss poor asset management after not using him in a deal all this time. I think Jones could very easily be the 7th defenseman, flip-flop in with Gustafsson for games here and there, and then he can take over next year. I think Jones' time in Hartford is done. They can't put him back there. Somebody will take him. I think that the Rangers are not going to risk that. It's too valuable of a piece, I think. People need to stop letting one playoff series define the team as a whole. I agree. I agree. I know where the anger is coming from. I know how it manifests itself. We are a very cerebral fan base at times, and sometimes we just say nonsense, and I get that. Until they're, I say this a lot. The regular season doesn't matter. They're going to make the playoffs next year. I mean, they're too good not to. So whatever they do from middle of October to middle of April really doesn't matter. It's what they do in the second half of April. And everybody's going to talk about that. I mean, there's always going to be, you lost last year, and maybe they need it as, a little chip on their shoulder. People are rightfully angry again. Not that they lost, but how they lost. And that's very fair. I can't dispute any of that. But I think that it's coming out, like I said, in other way, in other critiques. I'll put it that way. Jones will be traded, says Peter. I can't rule that out. I would like to see him stay around as a 7th guy, but we'll see. So for now, that is how BlueTruth would break it down. So clearly, just because I think that doesn't mean the team agrees. And if I wasn't making the decisions, I wouldn't be here tonight talking to you fine folks. But I think that there is some good clay to work with here for Laviolette. I think his biggest challenge from the jump is correctly incorporating Kakko and Lafreniere in spots where they will be the most valuable. And I just can't see how that doesn't put them both in the top 6. I can't. And I don't think the team can realize any sort of true potential if these two players aren't realizing their true potential. And we've seen flashes. It's there, but we need consistency. And I think that that's where a better coaching staff and a more tactical head coach with some structure is going to help. I bring this up a lot. I see this all over the place. You look at this roster. I mean, anyone who thinks this is a young team, I mean, you must be about 90. There are 3 forwards on this roster right now that are under the age of 30, and you know who they are. I don't know how anyone thinks they have this long runway to win something. I've maintained for a while now they have 2 years here to take a shot. Once Igor hits UFA after 24-25, you still have Panarin and Trouba under contract for a year. Panarin's 31, Mika's 30, Kreider's 32. I don't see it. They have 2 years. And that is why I think they brought in a coach like a Laviolette, who tends to start out well, have really strong starts to his coaching tenure. I mean, this is absolutely, with 100% certainty, a win-now team that is trying to win now. Look at the contracts. Look at when Shesterkin's due for that deal. And he could easily make double what he's making now. He's making 5-6. This could be a $10.5 million goaltender. Easy. With an increased cap, easy. Time is of the essence here. They are in their window right now. And everything that they do tells you that they think they're in their window right now. And I really can't see how anyone looks at the situation and sees it any other way. Like, oh, this is a young team. They're building for the next 10 years. No, they're not. I mean, there will be pieces here after Panarin and Trouba and Kreider move on, but I don't know how, you look at this and say, take their time. They don't have it. They got 2 years. Deep pairings could be good with more structure, which I think they will get with the new coach. I agree. I think he'll help Miller. I think the whole system will help Igor, because Igor's just been left out to dry, right? I mean, if you look back, like we go back 2 years ago, and it's like, yeah, I know they made the conference finals and they should have won. They should have gone to the finals that year, but I mean, that was lightning, and they weren't that good. They weren't. A lot of it was, again, great goaltending when it needed to be. I mean, everything broke right until it didn't. So, yeah. 23 or under, 30 or over. Barbell. These are lines. Bread, Zib, Kakko, Laffy, Heedle, Wheeler. I'm not opposed to that. That's what you would see if Kreider's on the third line, for sure. But then you put Goodrow on the other side with Trocheck. I mean, it's still kind of the same thing in premise. And they could absolutely do that. Like I said, I think if that's your breakdown, that's how Chris Kreider ends up on the third line. For sure. Chris says, backup goalie depth, Quick versus Halak. I thought Halak was terrible most of last year. I mean, like I said, I think if the backup goalie is our biggest problem, cool. I'm good. I'm good with that. I'm perfectly good with that. Another comment here. We'll do power play and we'll do power play. I think next show gets a little bit closer, but I think that's going to be very interesting. Specifically on the back end. Specifically on quarterback, specifically on who's on and who's not. A lot of the where does Kane and Tarasenko fit no longer an issue. So that clears things up, I think, a little bit. But yeah, I mean, that's just kind of, how I see the roster right now. The Rangers will be again playing the rookie series against the Philadelphia Flyers prospects in Allentown, PA, September 15th and 16th. I will be taking a trip for the Saturday game with my wife and my son and friends of ours who are unfortunately Flyers fans, but it's okay. It's good for the kids. I'm looking forward to seeing Austin and Cooley play in these games. They were in the games last year. I'm curious to see if Gabe Perreault makes an appearance. That would be great. I always enjoy these kind of games because you get to see what's coming. When the Phantom, I live in South Jersey, when the Phantoms used to play at the Spectrum in Philadelphia, I'd make it a point to go to the Wolfpack games down there, and I really did enjoy that. I wouldn't be opposed to doing like a weekend trip to Hartford. We'll see how the wife feels about it. But yeah, I think that's interesting to me. The next show, I think, will probably be around mid-September, around the first preseason game. I think it'll give us more to talk about as far as training camp, battles, or lack thereof, and just more around what the lineup's probably going to look like. But listen, let's get excited, guys. Hockey's almost back, and there's going to be a ton of things going on in Rangerland to occupy all of our thoughts every waking moment of the fall, the winter, the spring, and hopefully the early summer. And stick around with BlueTruth. We'll ride the journey together. I want to thank a lot of the new names that I saw tonight, which was great. I love the growth that we've had. We're over, I think, 5,300 followers now on our Facebook page. I can't tell you that's just awesome. There's no other way to put it. It's great. I love all you people. Thank you. Thank you very, very much. If you are watching the show, if you haven't already, go ahead, give a like. That helps us get spread out to more people on the Facebook. It's also on Twitter or X, whatever they're calling it now. The replays go to YouTube as well. They're on demand. These shows are always, recorded for everybody's viewing pleasure. Al, great job. Thank you. And Al, I appreciate your comments, by the way. And again, I appreciate the discourse. Like I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm not saying that I'm right, but it's good to hear other people's perspective. I've always felt that way. I always feel like you never should live in an echo chamber. Like when people give you different things that challenge your view, either you're going to see a perspective you didn't think of, or it's going to make you feel better about the view that you had. So I always appreciate the back and forth, even when it's not something I necessarily agree with, because, hey, I may not have thought about something the way you did, and vice versa. So it's always good. We all have the same love at heart of the team. I live and die with this team. So for sure. You put me on the spot, Peter, way too early. Way too early. It's better than half. I'll leave you with that. It's definitely in the top half of the spectrum. I'll put it to you that way. We bleed blue. Yes, we do. Hockey is different than everything else. I think hockey breaks out more of your emotion than other things do. And it's the best game in the world. We love this team. It's what binds us all. And it's coming quick. Look, 30 days. There's going to be a game on TV in Sam Rosen, or, it comes back to you. It just comes back to you. Love everything about it. And again, thank you all. Thank you all for watching episode 34 of BlueTruth. Like, follow, and share. Follow Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube. I love doing this. Thank you so much for taking time out of your evening to spend with me. If you're watching the replay, again, I appreciate that too. Take care, everybody, and let's go Rangers. It's coming quick.